Hello, welcome to another interesting episode on Trash It. We've got the usual hosts on today's episode. We've got Sosa, we've got Jude, we've got Ajike, we've got Mr. Jags, okay, and we've got Shadi. Shadi has been missing in action for a few weeks now, so we brought her back into the studio. So welcome back on Trash It, okay? So the topic we're going to be talking about today is something that a lot of people scare away from. Some people find it a taboo. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. Okay. And you know how Africans and some people can be when it comes to death. When you talk about death, God forbid, it's not my portion, Holy Ghost fire and all sorts of things you start hearing. So what we're going to be talking about today is will phobia. Okay. And some people, where's that coming from? Will phobia? I've never heard it before. Okay. The fear of writing a will. That is what we've just coined as will phobia. I don't know if there's any word like that. But anyway, we're going to be talking about wills and writing wills and why a lot of people in the African community don't want to hear about it. They don't want to do it. And even some Europeans as well, Asians, they don't want to talk about it because I work, Jude, I'm sure you've encountered this as well. We work in a field where we have to ask people if they've written their wills, if they have a funeral plan, and they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to discuss it. You know, it's a very sore subject to talk about. So I'm just going to go around the room today and just ask everyone, what do you think? Okay, we all know what a will is, obviously, but what is the importance of a will? Just in 30 seconds, so that we don't dive too deep in yet. Jude, let me come to you first. What is the importance of a will, especially in the African community? Why do you think a will is necessary?
I think whether despite the community, a will is very important and necessary because it gives one after death a control of their estates, properties. It reduces the stress for their family and their loved ones left behind. It gives you the opportunity to know that whatever your wishes were that you've put to pen to paper, it will be granted and will be done accordingly as you want. It covers how you want it to be buried, covers your funeral, covers your who you wanted some gifts to go to or monies to go to if you have money anyway. So not everybody necessarily need a will. Sometimes it's just your papers, your letters, your jewelries, who you want them to be given to, who do you want to have to maybe become guardianship of your children if they're under 18. It's just how you want things to be done and to give you that peace of mind when you are on the other side. So that's why it is very important and very necessary to avoid a lot of family conflict later on in life as well.
Okay. So Jude, I kind of like the way what you said in the beginning. You said it gives the dead person control. Yeah. Right? It gives the dead person because they've already outlined what they want and what they want to happen after they die. Okay. So let me come to you with this. You've heard a lot of stories, you know, why people don't put down a will. And again, from the community that you're from, like in Nigeria, which is where me and Jude are from as well. You don't talk about things like this. It is a taboo, you know, where even when the person is 80, they're still feeling like, no, are you planning for me to die? So what are your experiences when it comes to will writing or trying to advise people to put down a will before, you know, to get their house in order?
Yeah, I would like to agree with everything that Judah said about control, about extending love, the abundance of love that you have for your loved ones. You want them to be able to have control over whatever you are living for them. For Africa, if I say from our background, I don't see will as a taboo. I think it just depends on their orientation, you know, environmental influences and religious influences. You know, it still comes down to who are your people, your family, how do you see these things? So some family that have this awareness about it, they have the knowledge about it, it's not a taboo. But to some of them that have kind of gone through that religious route of God forbid society, they say, oh, please, it's not going to happen. So, and if you look at Africa, we have a lot of mixed culture. Like, I don't want to say mixed culture, that's not the right word. I would say that because of polygamy kind of a thing, as then it becomes a very tricky situation for you to say, okay, I'm going to write my will, because sometimes people feel like when you have 2 or 3 wives, or you have children from different women, kind of, it becomes really, really complicated. And to be honest with you, that's the best time to have will. I was married to somebody that have children, and from my tribe, which is the Benin, you know, we know that as a man, if you are married to more than a wife or one wife or maybe 2 or 3 women have children for you, have got children for you, it's always going to be son from each um the first son from each wife or from each woman that chooses, So if the first woman has got like maybe 4 or 5 boys for you, and the second one has got a girl and a boy. So the first boy from the first one chooses, and the first boy from the second woman chooses, no matter the age differences. So it's quite tricky when it comes to having children from different women. And we're not there yet. We don't have the understanding that will doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be like your family. In modern society, people write will, and sometimes their children don't even get benefit from their will. It doesn't have to be like, oh, your children, your uncles, your nieces and nephew. It can just be like if you have an estate, somebody that is competent. As for me, I think like if you're writing will, especially if you're passing something that is, maybe you have a company or something, you have to look for someone that is competent that can carry up that legacy when you're no longer there, instead of just being sentimental. So this is my son. I don't care if the person is even interested in stuff like that. So yeah, I think like environmental influences, religious influences, and the fact that a lot of our people, some of our fathers and all that, we've had to have children from different women. So it becomes tricky. Like you have to make sure that you are sharing this thing appropriately so that you don't do more harm than good when you're no longer there.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just ask though, how many of us here did our parent have a will? Jude, did your mom have a will? Sade, did your dad have a will? Ajike, do your parents have a will?
Parents are alive.
Yeah, I know, but do they have a will?
Oh, no, no, I'm not the first child.
Okay, so you don't know.
I won't know.
Yeah, Jude, did your mom have a will?
No, that's why I kept mute. I thought if they did, I'll put my hands up. No, I don't think my mom or my dad, anyone did write a will down. Although she did, we deal with past wishes of people as well when we're doing assessments here. Although she always would say, this is what I want to go to that, this is what I want to go to that, which is respected here as part of your past wishes. But especially when you no longer have capacity, but we know where we come from, those things don't hold water. So no.
Yeah, my parents didn't write a will. My dad, especially, we were shocked, and we still feel that's a very touchy subject in my family because we don't believe we wouldn't have a will, but apparently a will, and it could be because like I was going to say, I thought it was going to go around. I was going to say that will is an individual decision, and then it also comes to how you raise. You see, my generation, they share it. So the family comes in, they share things like, okay, you're the first one. That's they share the farm, share, like that. So that's how he grew up. So by the time my granddad died, was allocated something as first sons, some cultures respect the male than the female. So it's like all the female, you have to take care of them, and it doesn't have to be that his dad. That's what the family has agreed to do. That's how they're going to share. They share it according to, as a Yoruba person, they share according to the wives. So even if the wife has like 10 children, that wife, they share it like that. So that's how that was how it was raised. So I mean, if you now decide to polygamy, it's only common sense that you should have one to take care of, especially if you know that the women are not long. But I don't want to put it all to polygamy, why people should have wills, because I've seen a situation where extended family moves in and the wife and the kids are thrown out, and they're left with nothing, or they're now child, or there's something wrong with her. So there's so many things going on around our society, especially back home. That it's only wise that people feel, just to have peace of mind.
Okay, let me come to you before I go to Mr. Jags. Have you heard of stories? Okay, so I know in some communities they would say the first son would get everything, for example. Okay,
Yeah.
the first son would get everything, and then the first son gets to choose what they want to. First of all, they need to identify what the person that's passed, what the person has. And then when the elders or whoever do the sharing, they would then say, okay, the first son kind of gets everything, and then the person can then say what he wants to do with the things and how he wants to share it amongst his siblings. Now, in the case, I mean, that is tradition in some cultures, especially in the Benin culture. But now, in the case where there is a will, right? Sometimes, and maybe the person who left that will has now said, no, actually, I don't want everything to go to the first son, or the person has to decide. I want it to go, round all my children, male and female. Would you still think the will should hold, or would you still think that what the tradition and the culture stipulates should be what should be binding in that situation?
Are you asking me? I think the will should.
Yeah,
educate. Okay.
Hold now. What is tradition and what is tradition? Who are they? Who are they? What are they? I personally don't believe in outsiders getting into your business. So the fact that the children are even allowing somebody to come and be saying rubbish, I don't know, really. I can't say, I don't know. I personally don't adhere to that. That's why the person has given his wishes. The person has said what he wants. So why will you come? The uncle, like all these Africans, some uncles, aunties coming from the woodworks, just coming outside and all that. I don't know. I personally don't vibe with things like that. The person has said what he wants. The children should be, I think the reason why things like this would even happen is maybe when the children themselves are not united. Mm-hmm. Because if the children are united, who is an uncle, who is not an uncle?
Or they're young.
Or they are young, but, I don't know. I think you should respect the person's wishes. The person has said, I don't believe in all those first son things, because there are some first sons that are irresponsible. Mm-hmm. You give them everything, they will chop it to the ground. Like Sosa said, it's not about because you are the first son or is the capable hand that should get it. And even if, there's something I have come to realize, that we also need to train and raise our children not to look at the things that we have.
Exactly.
You should raise it. So at times when I see people begin to squabble and fight for things, I'm confused. I get very, very confused. So just let's respect what the person has said. I think that's
if I can quickly comment though, I know you mentioned about some firstborns can be irresponsible. I don't think will writing or the purpose of a will is about whether anyone is irresponsible or not. First of all, when you're writing a will,
no, she mentioned that the firstborn, it was a question she asked.
I know.
Because the African tradition usually places a lot of leeway for the first son.
Of course.
It has happened, in fact, it happened in our estate here. There's a house, and they are saying the man has younger sisters, and they don't have a say. The house has gone to the man, and is whatever he wants to do, he's going to do. His sisters are just there. If he's going to wake up Monday and send them out, we don't know. So they are at his mercy. Even for the fact that even has a sister that is older than him, I think number one is not very common in the Yoruba. Mm-hmm. We Yoruba people, everybody is equal, boy, girl, anybody. I don't know, maybe it might be personal preference, but the tradition is two ways. It's either Idigi or Ori Ojori. Idigi is no matter how many children you have, they are going to give you. You understand? The wife will be given, if there are 10 houses, if you like, give birth to 10 children, and one other person has one child, they will give everybody one. Mm-hmm. And Ori Ojori is everybody's equal, so they will share it, they will cut it equal, everybody will collect his own equal. Those are the ones I know in the Yoruba, apart from will writing, where you are educated enough. Yeah. But boy, girl, no, we don't do that.
Interesting. Jude, did you still want to come in?
Yeah. What I was trying to say is, look, when you write a will, the purpose of it is to stop all this problem and palaver in the first place. The uncles or aunties that we think maybe they get involved in our businesses or being nosy, if they were named as the executors of the will, then they are the executors in the court of law. But we know where we come from. Some parents will tell their children, Uncle A, Auntie B, Uncle C, or my very good friend over there are the executors of the will. And they will not say anything about the benefactors or the beneficiaries of the will, who are the ones that want to live it for, because they don't want any commotion. But then the minute the dad passed, then you get some of the children ganging up with the others saying, hang on, we're not going to let Uncle A do this, never. Because it's not about whether people are educated or not. It's just we're not civilized enough. Our MKO Abiola is one of the most civilized African that's ever walked the earth. Till tomorrow, they're still dragging his things. That's one of the most educated men that walked the face of this earth.
Did he have a will?
He did have a will. He had lawyers and all. There's will, but there's been disputes because different things are coming out. MKO is just too rich, but his family is still fighting. And there are well-known families in Benin too. I don't want to mention their names because we all know them. They had wills, but because we're not civilized enough and our courts are not strong, our institutions are not strong enough, they just tell you it's a piece of paper. I've seen where they tore wills and said, I beg, it's a piece of paper. And the executors don't even know their role within that process. So they don't even say challenge. They'll be like, I beg, I don't want this boy, can't kill me. We've seen this a lot of the times, you know. So until those institutions are strong enough, it happens here too. Don't think it don't happen here, but our institutions here are strong. So when you dispute, you go to court straight up, and the court says, hang on, this is valid because there were two witnesses who were there when he signed the will, and the two witnesses signed as well, whether they're benefactors or not, or executors of the same will, but they signed. But back home, they will tell that in front of you because of power, because they got power. So the problem it was meant to solve actually does causes more problem in our society. So it's not even about education. Like I said, Abiola is one of the most educated guys still. They're fighting over everything.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much for that, Jude. Mr. Judge, you've been saying there pretty. What do you've heard everything everybody has said. What do you have to say about this? And what experiences have you had, or maybe someone close to you? What sort of stories have you heard with regards to when the person wrote a will? Because as Jude has just said, sometimes even when they write a will, it don't make no difference. People rip it up if it doesn't favor them. Or when people haven't written a will and you have to go by what tradition says. Now, how many people really agree with what tradition says, especially if you're not the first son of your parents?
I know a 30-year-old boy, a boy in his 30s, is the fitness instructor. He just got to the park. He hadn't even done 5 minutes of workout. He just slumped. It's like somebody just switched off a lamp. He just slumped and died. 5 minutes after, ambulance were there and everything, and they were checking this guy. This is somebody who eats healthy, who works out, who is a fitness instructor. So if a fitness instructor can die, how much more somebody who's not doing exercise? So it's not about, oh, I'm healthy, oh, I look good, I'm fit. You can step out of your house and you get knocked down by a car, by a reckless driver. You know, so Africans, I think we need to embrace. I've not done it myself and I'm guilty, but I think we need to embrace this life insurance and will writing. It's just good. It's safe. It helps you knock off any unforeseen circumstances rising from families here and there. And I think it's just a good thing to do. You know, let me stop here.
Thank you, Mr. Jacks. If you're not talking, just can you mute so that we don't hear echoes? Now, it's funny you've sort of brought another face of this whole will situation, right? And that is your funeral plan, okay? So it's bad enough that you're asking somebody to write a will whilst they're still alive and asking them to share their property or, you know, think about how they want to share their property amongst their children. Now, we're now talking about actually going a bit deeper and looking at how you want to be buried. Now, I mean, I don't know, but is this something that a lot of Nigerians will do? Because I know in the UK, it's easy to do your funeral plan because you know that, okay, you want this, and you can say what you want. But in Nigeria, for example, how does it go? Has anybody ever had an experience? So let me come to you, or Jude. When it comes to writing a funeral plan, actually putting down how you want the day to go, how you want the funeral to go. How, because a lot of people say, oh, you don't need to spend too much money on a funeral. The person is gone, they're no longer there. As long as you put them down respectfully, then that's fine. Whereas other people, as we could see last year or the year before, was it Obi Kubana? His mother's funeral was the talk of the town. Whilst other people would say that was a waste of money, and it started breeding an avenue for all sorts of things to happen. And a lot of people were saying the respect was gone, okay, from putting that woman, from laying her to rest. How do Nigerians see funeral plan? Or should I even say those of us on the panel, how would you feel if you had to do your own funeral plan? How would that pan out? So let me come to you and I'll go to Jude.
Yes. I think funeral plan, I don't know how it works in Nigeria, but I think there's life insurance. A lot of insurance companies are now, spreading the awareness. People are talking about having life insurance is kind of technically kind of your funeral plan, because when you have life insurance and there is a lump sum of money that is coming out when the person passes away, the family can be rest assured that expenses is kind of covered a little bit, and then, it still depends on each individual, how they want to. Some people, they just have that knowledge, have that awareness, and they have, they've traveled, and they just kind of write how they want to be buried. A lot of times families do, of course, because of our tradition, families do get involved. No matter where you have gone to, no matter how civilized the children have been, if someone dies, you have to go back to the nitty-gritty, and the family will rub shit on you. Like, from where I am from, they will have a kite bear, no matter what, they will come and tell you this is what and this is what they don't want. If you touch back at something about writing will and all that, I think the best thing for us to do, or for anyone to do, we cannot change the past, we cannot change whatever our forefathers have done, but we can start by trying to create difference from our time. They say he who waits for a dead man's shoes end up not wearing any. Mm-hmm. We don't want to have this notion that, I don't want my children to grow up and depend on my will, because they are going to be so better than me that my money or my stuff is going to mean anything to them, But then we need to understand that, right, doing funeral plan is really, really important. I know that I don't have any, if whatever happens and I'm no longer today, I would be so upset if my children spend money to start taking me home and start doing the rubbish, when they don't even have enough. If there's a way you can just do the minimal arrangement as much as possible. Any other thing that they do is on their own, because they're not doing to please me. I'm sure Obi Kubana's mom, is not. I don't think she's going to be so keen about having this elaborate wedding funeral. But he did that based on his status and his class, fine. So some people, they say, oh, it was good, and to some people they didn't see anything in there. It depends on individual differences. But the fact to remain is when you plan well, when you have all this plan, it might not necessarily be exactly as you have planned it, but at least there's a guideline. People know that this is what you want as an individual. So I think the funeral plan, I don't know how well they do that in Nigeria, but I know that there's insurance and life insurance and stuff like that. But the funeral plan is really, really important for us, for people in Nigeria. And if we're here, £5 every month, just do it. I don't know how much it costs, It is really, really, to be honest with you, all this that we're saying is very light as we are saying it from our mouth. Funeral plan, but it's not easy to talk about death, to talk about will, to talk about funeral. That's the honest truth. No matter how civilized and all our knowledge, it's not easy to sit and say, okay, let me just worry about funeral plan. It's just, there's something that it does to your system. I'm guilty of that. A lot of my younger sister, she's done her life insurance for years. And she keeps saying, sister, when are you starting your one? I'm not scared, but I just keep saying, oh, okay, I still have time. I still have time. And today, when I was going through this will thing, and I was just doing some research, everything about the will still comes to having that plan. And part of those plans is having this life insurance, having your funeral plan, so that if you don't have all those things, it's going to affect your funeral. If you don't have a good will or whatever it is, if you don't have good life insurance, is it going to cause the same problem that you want to avoid with your will? People are going to start fighting anyway. So yeah, I hope that we can.
Funeral plan is a plan of how you want to be buried. Is instructions to your family. Life insurance is like a little something you're leaving your family. Of course, it's good to have both. It will not be smart to just do the life insurance, because sometimes it does take a while before it comes true. Sometimes it takes months. It's not, insurance companies don't like to pay off easily like that. Yorubas like to do theirs verbally, like your elderly father is talking like, this is how I want to be buried. Some, the rich ones, the modern ones now, they probably buy their own vault. My dad had a vault ready. We knew where he was going to be buried. He's already said that he wants to be buried in a certain way. He didn't want to stay too long in the morgue. They say these things, so and we had a bit of situation because as an only child of his parents, of his mom, and also from a royal home and a titled man, he should be buried in the village. So we had a bit of problem with the family where they were telling us traditionally. What made it easier for us was because he's verbally said, this is where I'll be buried, and he's even paid for his vault.
For it, yeah.
Understand? So I mean, like, I'm with Esosa on this. If you cannot write it down, there are some key people in your family that you should let them know what you want.
How much can you trust those key people? What if they end up manipulating what you said?
No. Depends. That's what I'm saying. It depends on your family and how you guys are. My dad has always said he's not leaving us anything. He's always said it to us. We remember. He's always said it, like he would fight that child that will come and fight for anything. This is not because I'm from a polygamous home or he has plenty of wives. He just believes that any child, the Yoruba thing, he says this in Yoruba, that Bojun Logun, that's what causes problem. So he says, go and work for your own. You understand? So we grew up, even I'm telling you till date, we don't know what my dad has. We're not interested. None of my kids are interested. None. We don't even talk about it.
So who did he leave his things, his properties for?
His wife,
For his wives.
It didn't even make a will. Understand? But like my mom is late, so my stepmom is like my mom, and we know that we have tenants there. The only thing is that you won't come and ask me for money, because you should say that's been taken care of for you. And I know that she also supports. Like if I know somebody said, "Oh, I need money for this," she'll be like, "Oh, I can give you this rent," and the family has to be different. It depends on the man of the house, do it, or the culture, or how you like. Most of, let me speak for myself, family now, or my culture a little bit. Yorubas is like, even if your father does not leave a will, like Ajike said, we will share it equally. And it's hard for, when we're not in the village, for the elders to now come and sit down, especially when you're older. My dad, they were thinking we were going to call them and let's talk about this. But we were old enough to know what we were, especially when my dad has said, this is how I want to be buried. Understand? We compromise a little bit, because at the same time, you have to give what is Caesar to Caesar. You understand? So there's some things that we have to do traditionally that I'm aware of that my dad was planning to do, maybe for his parent, and they have to do like a second burial or something like that. So we have to do that just to please them, not like we didn't bury him in the village. And, so me right now, life insurance is still something that I'm going on back and forth with because of health issues. I'm sure I must have mentioned it to you, Celia, a while ago. So when that is sorted out, I'll get one. But how my children are going to be taken care of, I have been saying it now. My sisters, no. And my sisters, they are not interested in whatever change I have. They're very rich, they're very comfortable. So I know that they will step in immediately. They don't like me talking about it, but I'm the first girl. I talk about it, my dad. So I say it. And they're like, oh, you're not going to die in Jesus. I said, leave Jesus. Let's talk about it. Like, you would not say I didn't tell you. these boys, because my kids are mixed, and culturally, I know that if I leave them any money, that dad might tell them to go take a trip around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I put a clause on my own that they're free to do whatever they want to do, but they must at least have a master's. They must go to school. Because, like my side of the other family, they don't really believe in having a degree and all that. They believe that you have experience, work and all that. So I can see, and especially I have got boys, I can see wanting to have fun around the world. So even my 8 years knows that the only thing mommy requests from him is that he must have an education. I'm not saying a YouTuber. I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you want.
I'm saying it's channel.
Yeah, he wants to do that full time. And I said, that's fine. I'm good. And I'm mommy manager, but you must have a degree. And the way I raise my son, my first son especially, anyone that meets him knows, he is in charge. The way I raise him is the way he will raise his younger one. So you know that he's the one that one is looking at. So everything I tell him is we can't afford to effort. So I think it's individually what we want to start saying it. Either you write it down or you say it verbally. I don't have any money to share to them. So if I have the money, he knows that his younger brother is his priority. And like Ajike, like Esosa said, I don't want anyone to take me anywhere. I'm not interested. So wherever I am, and let there be peace in the world. Because I know my extended family, they're drama. There must be something that we have to do to the kingdom where my dad comes from. Do this. I ain't interested. No. So that's the only thing I want to add. Sorry, I took a long time. Sorry, guys.
No, that's fine. Jude, did you want to come in there, or Ajike? No? Okay. So there was something Shade said, something about, taking, and I think Society also said the same thing as well, about taking the person back to the country where they're originally from to have them buried there because that's what tradition says. I've also heard stories where sometimes if maybe the person is from a certain village, I think somebody else just mentioned it, and if the person doesn't have a house in that village, I remember my older sister's friend, I think they're from a village in Edo State, and their father lived in Benin all his life and had his children and raised his children in Benin. And he didn't have a house. He had a house in Benin, but he didn't have a house in that village where he was from. And unfortunately, the elders of the family said to the children, you cannot bury your father in Benin because he belongs to this family. You have to bring his body home and bury him at home. And unfortunately, your father does not have a house in the village. So you have to build him a house in the village and then bury him in the house. Now, all these so-called elders that put all this kind of demand, some elders are very good. They don't put that kind of demand on the children of the disease. But unfortunately, you have some elders that put all this kind of demands on the children of the disease, and it just makes things difficult because you don't even know if the children can afford it. So, Mr. Jaggs, let me come to you. What do you think about that? At what point do we need to say, you know what? Forget about what tradition says. This is our father or our mother. This is what we want to do, and we're going to go ahead and do it. Because just before you answer, Mr. Jaggs, you're still on mute. Because mind you, what some tradition would tell you, especially in the Benin tradition, they would say to you, if you don't do it according to tradition, so and so things might happen, this might happen, and that might happen. And then you hear people saying, well, I'm a Christian, I don't believe in all of that. So that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to make sure my beloved gets the right funeral, but all those other traditional aspects of it, I'm not going to do it. So at what point do we just put tradition to the side and do what we think is right for our loved ones?
So these things, they're real critical issues. Even in the Christian kingdom, it's happening now as well. There is a new rule in Anglican. If you're coming to do burial in their church, you are not allowed to keep the dead body in the mortuary for more than a month or so. So if you're planning and raising money and you're waiting, if you don't bring it within that month, they will kick you out. So the same way the problem is in the traditional way, it's in the Christian way as well. My friend was gonna bury his dad in Ilututu in Ondo State. And they started giving them rules and this and that. And he said to them, you know what, F off, we don't need you. He just rented pastors from different places and they went straight to some cemetery, bought a space and buried their parents, and they had a fantastic party and they moved on. Now, the father holds a big title. It's like the head of the occult of the king. That's the father. There is a name they call it, but if I call the name here, you guys are not going to understand the name. You know, it's like saying the Oloro of something of that particular kingdom. So the traditional people didn't actually give them problem. The only thing they wanted was for the first son of the man to take over the father's role.
Oh.
You know, just like when they said the son of the king should become the next king.
Yeah.
So they wanted him to take over the father's role, but he's still learned. He's a professor in Manchester. How is he gonna come back home and start wearing the mantle of the, you know, oracle? So he didn't go. But they didn't give them too much problem because everybody wants to be a big chief. Some people were eyeing that position. So they were happy for him to say, it's like calling somebody to come and become a king. And they're saying, no, I don't want to be king. And somebody is there eyeing the post.
Gladly.
So, exactly. So they told the church, you can F off, we don't care. We were going to do you a favor. We're going to spend money in church, do this and do that. And then you're still doing like this. So they took their dead body, went somewhere else, called one Pentecostal pastor, did all the necessary prayers, and buried the man in the ground. You know, so there is no thunder that is going to come and strike anybody. There is no oracle that will come and appear to you at night or come and threaten you in your dreams. All in a lie. Do your due, have peace of mind. It is because they can reach you. That's why they're giving you all the conditions. If they want to come and drag with you, let them fly now, buy tickets, come to London and tell you that you cannot bury your dad in Chelsea. You have to bring him to Odiaye or Odiri in Ondo State. Who will come and do that? You know. Thank you.
I heard a story of another story where the person's relative died in the UK, and then the family members, they were so adamant that the person had to bring the body home to be buried, and to the point where they sent the person court papers from Nigeria saying that the court has ordered the person to bring this dead body of their relative back home to bury, you know, and the person was obviously trying to figure out, okay, is there jurisdiction and all of that. But I suppose, again, if the person had just said, this is what I want to happen when I pass away, then there won't be there won't be all. And another thing is, apart from just maybe writing a will, Sade, I think you mentioned something about that, where they can actually maybe just do a recording, right? They'll do a recording and say what they want to happen, how they want to be buried, where they want to be buried. Now, what do you guys think about burying the dead in their house? Ajike, let me come to you on that one. What do you guys, I mean, in Benin, do you know, in Benin, tradition is very rampant. I remember when I was growing up, there was this house, not on my way to my aunt's house, I had to walk past the house, and in that house, they buried the dead body in the middle of the living room. Jude, so have you guys ever heard of that in Benin?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah?
It happens.
It was very rampant at some point. They buried the person in the middle of the living room. Every time I'm walking past that house, I'm running past it because I'm like, oh my God, there's a dead body in that living room. So Ajike, let me come to you. What do you think about them, people burying the dead in the house? Where
Mr. Jags had explained this. Most of the time, it used to be very rampant in Lagos until there are some laws that were passed recently. So I think you can't really bury people in the house anymore. Although some people still do it. I don't know how to bypass it, but it's really more of, it's a way to stop people from selling the house. And it's a way to secure, especially if the woman is, she still has young children, the children are young, a place for them to stay, because if not, they're really going to throw them away and tell them to go out and all that. So that's a way to just, preempt all that. I personally do not even believe in, personally, I don't believe in burying people at home. I don't believe in burying people in caskets. I like the Muslim way of burial, cremate or just bury normally, and all those pomp and pageantry of the Christendom to me is a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of resources. I hate it. I don't want it. I have told everybody that cares to listen. Don't bring it my way.
You don't
It is
want
not what I want.
oh,
Me too. Me too.
I don't want it. It's a waste of money. Take that money and do something else. I don't know. We are still fortunate to have both our parents alive. And luckily I'm not the first child and I'm not the first son. So I won't have much of a say if they don't leave a will or whatever the case may be. But I don't believe in big parties for burials. I don't believe in wasting money. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my money to be buying clothes. It's a waste. But that's my own personal opinion. But at times, if somebody has lived a long life, like my dad is over 90. So if you've lived a very long life, I quite understand where the celebration comes in. But if you want to go by me, celebration or not, I beg, give me the money. Let me run with it. Let me enjoy the money. Me that I'm alive, let me enjoy the money. But I quite understand if you are old, if the person is old enough for a party, why not? Okay. As long as it's not me, they are telling to come and drop money for the party, I will help them to wear list. But burying people at home, I don't like it. Like now, my former landlord, where I used to live, is buried at home. None of his children is in Nigeria anymore. I think just one. And that one, obviously, because her elder sisters are out and about, one day she will just, So what becomes of that? And this person is not as if anybody came to fight them, because I was living there when he died. So it wasn't as if anybody came and said, okay, we are fighting you for house, we are fighting. No, he just said he wanted to be buried there. But now things have changed. There's nobody in the house. Everybody has moved on. In fact, I wondered how they even got a tenant when I left. Because me, when they buried him myself, I first of all moved out of the room because it was behind my window. I first of all moved out of the room. I first of all moved out. I even first moved out. I didn't even want to know what's going on. And I never slept in that room again.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they got tenants anymore. But for me, it's a no. And I feel nobody should be afraid to write a will. I feel that as a mother and as a parent, I think the reason why I have done my own will is to protect my child, is to protect my son. What I have should go to him. And I've been able to do that, and it has given me peace. I think I did this when I gave birth to him. Before I had my son, I didn't think about it, but I did it because I feel that apart from even all the sentiments of giving your children, when you work hard, when you die intestate, that's without a will, the government takes your money. They take, when by the time they are sharing it, they take even in Nigeria, they take a very big tax cut.
Really?
But when you have a will, when you have written, you update your codicil. Your codicil is you are putting in more information after you've done your will. You update. It's really important. I've had my will now for at least 4 years, and I've not died. It was very easy. I did it online. It was 35,000. I did a carrot.ng. It was very, very easy. I didn't go anywhere. I did it. They took it to the probate court. They brought it for me. I have my copy. Some people's own, it's not even copy. They give you a link to your email. On your Facebook has sent something for you. If you die, if your account is inactive for 6 months, sign up. Google has done that. Sign up. I don't know why people are scared. We will all die, but even me as a Christian, I believe and I stand on the fact that with long life, God satisfy me and show me salvation. But I will be faithful. So another thing I feel that people should learn is how you bring up your children. Personally, I think my family is a testament to that. I don't think I've seen my father's will before, and I saw it, and when I spoke to my mom about it, she was really like, "Oh, you saw it and you didn't complain." Really, I can't, because it's not as if maybe I'm the most favored or whatever. Whatever I saw it wasn't as if maybe I was going to get anything anyway. But what my mom was like, okay, if people saw this thing, and if people are not like breaking bottle.
But you're not supposed to see it. How did you manage to see it?
I don't know what we're looking
It's not
for,
supposed
but
to
my
be
sister
shown to
and I,
anyone.
we saw it. And when I actually even told her, she said she had even changed it. But what she was bringing, what I'm trying to bring to fore is that I have seen this thing and I did not kill myself because my own issue is that let me go and build my own. So when I see people sit down and fight over their parents' money, you are nothing but an agojulogun. Somebody should help me to translate that. I don't know how much, I can't imagine how much money my father will have. In fact, I always tell people, when my father will die, I will not be around to sit down for them to read a will. And I know my mom has done a good enough job on me and my siblings. I don't think anybody will have that time. They can read it. If it's pay us fine, if you don't pay us, all right. Everybody's running their own business. So when people, I don't know how people sit down and become so engrossed in what, it's good for your parents to leave a will, but the way some people fight, the way they go about this thing, you need to see the way some people will tear themselves into pieces over what. I always tell my mom's father left the house in Lagos. My grandfather was a polygamist. He has like 20 children. The house is just, and I told my mom, I said, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If you understand that word, if you understand it, you will understand that there is nothing that belongs to you. You have just been blessed by God. So you understand, fine, you should be able to, whatever you have been given should be able to be managed to pass on. In fact, that's why Nigeria as a nation, we are not doing well because we do not leave posterity. It's not posterity, it's not posterity. Still do taller tires, everything ran down, simply because we do not know how to give things to the next generation. And when I say the next generation does not have to be blood. Does not necessarily, there are many motherless babies home that will enjoy this money. There are people, Bacheli School of the Blind. There are many places that will enjoy this kind of blessing, but still, people will fight and kill themselves. So me, I feel the two things I think we have a will, train your children well, let them understand that what you have is not their own. Even if you are going to give them, let them know it's not their own, let them go and walk. All official push your one.
Okay, Jude, let me come.
I also notice.
Yeah, go on, Mr. Jags. I
also notice that children in this part of the world, they don't wait for inheritance. The moment they enter university, they're already taking up schools in Manchester. They don't even want to come home. You'll be begging them to come back home. From there, they can secure a job in Scotland or in Wales. That's the beginning of their life. Before you know it, they've already started buying their own mortgage. The orientation here, either you bring them up well or not. The society kind of helps them to identify their talent or their destiny. They decide where they want to go and they go for it. They're not interested on one property you're living in New Cross, because by the time they grow up, that property will look like a shithole. So they're not interested. They want to buy in probably Eltham, or they want to buy in Surrey. They're not interested. Have you guys noticed that? It's only in Nigeria that you see people.
I cannot disagree, though. I cannot disagree, because
you think so.
Yeah, because look, I've been a social worker for 7 years, and this is what I do. I work in palliative care, so I deal with wills on a daily basis. I just had a conversation with a Nigerian German yesterday about his wills, and this is what I do on a daily basis, having it with young people, old people, and all. I disagree. What they do here is not, they don't wait for the will. What people do here, they give the will, they give the inheritance on time before they even get to the point of dying. So I have a colleague then who was a German as well. We worked together. He walked into the office one day and said, "Jude, look at this." He showed me a check of £50,000. That was his supposed inheritance from his mother, but the mother gave him upfront so that he can go pay for his mortgage. So majority of them already have whatever they was going to have on time, because there's no point delaying you to your dad when you need the money now. So mom and dad is saying, we've actually said, this is for you, this is for that. You want to have yours now? Yes, I need it for my down payment. So they do that. So the things they mostly leave in their way is stuff like jewelries, who they want the jewelries to go to, who they want things like cats and dogs to go to, properties. By the time people here even get to the dying stage, the ones that have the knowledge, their mortgage has no value anymore, because they've always remortgaged to go to holidays, just enjoy their life. This is my experience from the work that I do. So their children have already had the money. And this is what I tell my kids as well. at some point in my life when I'm doing remortgages, I will give them bulk sum of money and that's it. Bye-bye. Me, you won't get anything later because me and your mom will just be enjoying the rest till the house loses every value. Maybe by the time they sell it, it will be less than £1 remaining. So this is what they mostly do. Yeah, so that's my experience from the wills. But they do fight over wills here as well. I had a woman last Friday. I was about to leave work and they said, come back quick, Jude. We need the will writing move backwards because I was going to do it on Monday. And I've got a solicitor who's going to do it for free because we got free people do it for free. And by the time I was going, her mental capacity has fluctuated, has deepened. And they said, you need to do this now. And I said, look, I'm flying to Germany this morning. I couldn't be bothered letting your own stress bother me. So I called one of my colleagues who was on leave and I said, please, can you do it? By the time I came back, they had already spent £750 for an urgent lawyer to come do the will. This is the cost of you not doing it on time. She had a will before, but she wanted to change it because she realized that her husband was spending recklessly since she became ill, and she knew and she had some good thousands and some serious jewelry that she didn't want the husband to get hold of. He's just been spending the money recklessly. So maybe she feared that, okay, this guy will spend it on women later. So she needed to change it. So I first of all have to go in there and show that this woman has capacity. But by the time the lawyers came, there was big fight already because the son who was with me the day before, who was all loaded, happy and all, now is accusing his own niece, saying the niece is manipulating grandma, which is completely false. And now the lawyer was saying, you know, we no longer believe this woman has capacity. Bye, we're not doing it. So it became dispute until we got involved and put our foot down and said, look, this woman has capacity. Whatever she wants will stay. So what I'm saying is, come again?
No, go on.
Yeah, so that's what happens here. So there's always big fight here, and they tear themselves down just the way we do it back home. The only difference here is there are institutions stronger than whoever is fighting. So the laws here are stronger. They will always protect the wishes and the past wishes of the person who has died and their estate. Like Jike said, the interstate thing. If you die here without a will, like now I'm married, if I die without a will, everything will go to my wife, but it might not go to my children. It's then left for my wife to decide whether my children will benefit. But if I was writing my own will, and I would then say, split it between 40, 20, 20, like I've done with my life insurances and my pension. I didn't leave everything for my wife. My wife gets this, my children get a certain percentage, and whoever else I want to leave it for, like charity, that's it. Talk about funeral plans. We talk about it every time. I think Sade was very spot on. My mom always said, this is how I want to get buried. I don't want to stay in the mortuary for a long time. But guess what? Tradition trumped it because at the time my mom died was when Oba Eridawa died. And his son, who's the current Oba, just kept pushing funeral back and forth like it was a toy to play with. My mom's wishes were not met. She's ended up staying in the mortuary longer than she would ever have wanted, which was against her. Will our spirit come back and kill the Oba? I would have wished for that, but she's not going to do it because it's a lie. But if our spirit could come back and kill the Oba, I would say, yes, go ahead and do it. But it tells you all those traditions is all crap, it's all lies. So yes, we talk about our funeral plans all the time. It's not necessarily that you put £5 somewhere or pay for your funeral plan like they do it here. It's structured, it's formal. I've already told my wife I want to be cremated ASAP. And the reason for that is because I fear dark places. I know if I die in that coffin, I might rise up. I'm fearing, I don't want to be out of breath. That's the only reason I want cremation. Just burn me there. I know I'm not going to be struggling to be out of breath. So these are our funeral plans. We do talk about it, and it's not strange in Nigeria. Nigerians talk about it a lot. My parents did. My grandparents did. They tell us in those stories, this is how I want to be buried. Or if this one comes, don't give them food. Those are our funeral plans. If Egbeg are not give them food, those are all funeral plans, you know. But having said that, though, tradition just trump all this thing. You know, Abiola has a powerful lawyer, but today they're still fighting in the court. You know, we don't have strong institutions. That's the thing. But we do talk about it. My relationship with death is different. I talk about it all the time. Maybe because of what we do. I don't know. I'm comfortable talking about it. I've had life insurances more than 10 years ago. I have two. And when I tell my friends, until one recently almost died before he decided to go do it. And I said, yeah, because it's on. I'll tell you one thing. Most of the guys I talk to here, they tell me one thing. If I do life insurance, that's the time this woman will plan kill me. I'm like, you're an idiot. If that's your selfish, if that's the only thing you have against life insurance, you're a proper fool. So that's when the woman get power in London, they will come do this. I say, well, you be ghost then. Not the one.
You know what? So, what you said just now reminds me of my two friends. They told their dad.
One moment, Mr. Jags.
what Jude said reminds me of two of my friends. The dad was like, "You guys, it's because of you I'm working hard. It is because of you I'm building all these houses. You guys need to come home. You need to come and handle this property. You need to come and handle this business." The boy was like, "Daddy, you better start selling your property and use it to go on cruise liners. I've got like 3 mortgages here in London. I can't sleep in 2 rooms. How do I manage it? Start selling them one by one and start using it to see the world. Enjoy the remaining time you have on life." And I have so many other guys like that too. They're not interested. They're not interested. Like my own father's house now, I'm not interested. Am I going to go back to Nigeria and say, okay, I want to move back into that house, or I want to go and start business there? It's too old school now. So, but then I think what works for James may not work for
Of
Adam.
course.
Life comes in different shades. I want to be better than my parents. My kids must be better than me. And I'm always going to put that in their mind. See, all these things you're looking at, even though I'm going to give it to them, I will scare them and say it's going to motherless home so that they can sit tight. But in future, come back to them. But not this nonsense.
Getting too old, I forget. I just want to advocate for women, especially mothers, where we should have one. I'm with Ajike on that, especially when you are in a situation where it's possible, because you would know if your man is the type that will marry immediately after you. And
oh my God. Spot on.
My ex is of the opinion is the woman that is with that, like the way his dad did it was like the mother is allowed to live in that house until she dies.
Yeah.
So it's not like guys that you guys think you can sell it. It's only he has died that it shared it between the 3 of them. His will was shared between him, the sisters. But the clause is that the house will not be sold until she dies. You understand? So why I'm saying women, mothers especially if you have one, or you are coming from, or you're into a situation where the man has different wives. You understand? If I leave my ex money to take care of my children, I'm telling you, it would share it in, like, to 5 places. You understand? So I have to protect my own children.
Yeah.
So it's about saying, okay, this is for you, my own child. The father among all his children. You understand? So I'm saying that the mother, in as much as you will give your husband, like in my plan, if God forbid anything happens, is to be given a certain amount of money, because if the kids are young and they're living with him, as extra to support him, because he struggle with childcare. Happens to me right now, it would have to make some life changes with his work and all that. Right. So we'll be giving some extra monthly. That's what I've put in there. But if God permits and I lead to a stage where my kids are older, I put a clause in their age as well. It should be given to them. They should be shared equally. So it's about what is, and like Jude is, there's nothing wrong with talking about life after death. And I was going to go back to the question that you asked about, will I be comfortable with people burying people? I'm not. I'm like Jude, I don't do that. I couldn't even go back to my mom's burial ground. I couldn't, especially when my sister said she saw someone crying everywhere she was passing, because those ones, they see something. Me, I couldn't go to anywhere. I said, you saw who was crying? I said, you might sit down there crying and wish she can come back again. I said, you can see that, So yeah, my sister is very spiritual. So when she was passing to go, when my dad passed away and we wanted to just clean mom's grave, because my mom passed away longer than my dad, and we had to move my dad's vault, because if you go to Yaba now, it's like a forest. So we had to move it to a private funeral grave and all that. So we were, just looking at things and all that. My younger sister, she's very spiritual. She kept seeing people crying and wondering they can come back to life. I saw that died young, and someone that talking to her and telling her that they told her to be careful, because for the funeral that we're in, they gave messages. I was like, how I didn't go? This is why I know they work out and now. Ghosts, they talk. I was like, so especially now bury somebody in the house. My friend here, actually, she had to get these spiritual people to come. This is a white lady to come and, cleanse her house because whoever lived there before died there. And I think died, like they didn't get help, maybe a single parent or some elderly person. So like she died sadly, you understand? So she had because every time the child is always like, Mom, there's someone sitting down there being sad. So she had to cleanse the house. So imagine now burying someone in the compound. I can't. I can't. My funeral, I'm with Ajike as well. I'm going with everything everyone has said. I'm not a fan of big funeral, but there's some people you just have to do it for them. There is no way we could have made my dad's funeral.
Yeah.
He's not that kind of a man. We had people flying in from all over the world. We had aviation industry there. We could not, there was no, the only thing I put a stop to was when they wanted to start making it like Kingston Daddy had to come, that one had to come. Like, I'm sorry, who's spending all this money? And so it was a bit of, we had a bit of family tussle of, I had to take myself out of the WhatsApp group at the point, like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Compromise to Ayefele, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of politics there because governors have to come. Blah, blah. So Yoruba is like, we celebrate life. That with Yorubas and other people. Some people cry and all that. We just want, he has grandchildren. Let's celebrate his life. Even if the man didn't have any money, they will now put the bill. And even my stepmom had to come in for us because they were calculating how many of his kids were abroad. So they were giving us bills.
According to that.
The wife of the family, our Yawos, were going to the market and picking the biggest and most expensive things, like that is the, I was like, what is going on? I might not even wear the material again. So on the status of the person, some people do 7 days funeral, some people do burial twice. They will bury the first time and come back after 7 days, and after 31 days and have a big party. I hope a simple one.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Jude, you want to say something? Because I want
to just quick one. Shade just reminded me of something. There's this couple here that I know, and you wouldn't think that their dad, the husband's dad died, and he went back to Nigeria. And this guy didn't ask anybody for a penny, donations and all. And he came back, and the stories he told me, I was just amazed. And this is a man who society would say wasn't educated and he had brains. Now, this man saved money, didn't just write his will, paid for everything. How he wanted his funeral to look like was a bit small funeral, but he didn't want any of his children, whether they were abroad or not, to pay. So that is somebody with head, with sense. Because I don't care whether your dad is a billionaire, man. If you wanted a big funeral, pay for it before you go. Don't be calling me. Look, I'm from the palace. When my dad died, they did all sorts they want to do, man. I fought them. You guys know me. I had to lie to them, say, you want me to come as the first one to come perform some dirty rites. You know how they feel. I had to lie to them, say, I don't have papers. The moment I put my foot in Nigeria, I won't be able to go back to abroad. Is that what you guys want? They buckled back and they said, oh, send some money, somebody else can do your rights for you. What I'm trying to say is if you put your foot down, and they know me right from Benin, it's not because I came abroad. This is how I think. I don't run from dead bodies. We live next to Ted Cemetery. You remember the cemetery, the most famous one? I live not far from there. I'm always there, playing with the trees, jumping in mangoes. In London, I sit in cemeteries to have my lunch. I don't know. I have a strange relationship with death. So I don't shy away from it. I talk about it. So I stood my ground and say, what will happen? Because if you wanted that side of burial, pay for it, my man. You have money, you didn't pay for it, let your children be running around, head scared. So it not gonna happen. That's my opinion. So my friends, this guy's dad did that. And I was so amazed. And I was like, I wish I had met this kind of your papa because he had brains. He didn't want to give any of his stress. And this man not go to school. He didn't have much money. He paid for everything. His mortuary. They were surprised he left the money everywhere. He said, I just want you guys to come honor me and pack your bags and go back.
Yeah,
go live your life. Stress. And yet we have Abiola on that cost problem. I'm pretty sure Igbinedion will bomb the whole city down. There's loads like that. I have another family, very rich, wealthy. The man has died more than 20 years. They're sitting on everything. Every property, more than 100 properties, companies, they're sitting on them. They just sat on them. Agiligbe is the same. Agiligbe children sat on his own so much. Guess who's enjoying it now? The white kid. Because he had a white kid in Europe. The white kid realized my father is that name. He came back. And through the palace, he won. He's in charge of all the properties. A German running shows now because once they get birth to in Nigeria, the grandchildren are my friends. He left so much money. That guy is controlling everything all over the world from Benin. A white kid from Europe who never knew our town. Just because they couldn't bring themselves together and the man himself did not take care of things. So that's the way it ends. So that's the importance of will writing.
Back to Nigeria.
Oh, yes. You know, social media has done a lot of good. So like you can record your graves and all. That guy searched and realized what his grandfather was, because he's the first son of that guy's first son. They've never shared that. You guys know Agidegbe, the biggest properties, the biggest story buildings in Benin. Brother, the kind of buildings they have is the kind of ones we have in Lagos. They're the biggest structures in Benin. And this man don't just have it in one neighborhood. He's got it all over the state. And this Oibo kid.
So he went back to Nigeria.
Yeah. He went back and realized, I might be German here, but I'm broke. My grandfather left so much that he went back. And through our palace, he's the one enjoying the lodges.
They will accept him.
My friend who's the grandson left Spain to go back, he's broke as hell. They cut them off the inheritance. That guy took everything. The white kid is the one. And again, because it's foreigner too, they loved him. So what I'm saying is, it's not about your education or how much awareness or travel you've traveled. Some of those guys, the Bible said it I think in Ecclesiastes, I don't know, the Proverbs, you know, things that surprises people. You see those who've gone to school and they live miserable life. Those who've not been to school, they have more brains than those who've been, and their family live in peace, perpetual. My dad went to the highest school. My dad was the deputy registrar of WAEC when he was alive. Although I don't know him. That man didn't leave a will. And they put all the burden on me for a guy that I'd never met. And I put all the burden back on them. Me? I said, you know what happened? They said, oh, he has this thing, he has this thing. I said, the other two children is God. Please let them have it. Because they grew up with him. I don't know him. Those children knew him. This one said, oh, this car, what do we do? I said, keep the car, give you value. This house, what do we do? I said, buy with it. I don't own anything anywhere. I don't want Wahala. Carry they go. That's how you do it. But because of the trouble, and he went to school, the highest level of school.
Jude, come and go and become king. You go give me land.
Oh yeah, no, I got land, so I can give you lands. I can give you, but I don't want it.
Good, Jude, let's go back.
Oh Lord. Okay, this has been an interesting one. On that note, we're going to end it now. I think the moral of the story and what we're trying to say is there is nothing wrong with having a will, having a funeral plan, and having a life insurance. Because when you know your parents had a life insurance, let me focus on this life insurance because that's where money comes from. Because some people's parents don't really have money, and it's fine. Do you understand? It's fine. But when you take out a life insurance, and you let your family know, your children know that you took out a life insurance, when you die, the way they will cry will be different from the way they will cry when they know that you did not leave any life insurance, no money. They have to be the ones to look for money to bury you. Do you understand? So I think it's only fair that we make things easy for our children and for the loved ones we're leaving behind instead of making life difficult. And I think everybody has kind of said it here, that all this extravagant funeral, yes, there are some people that you just have to do it for. But then again, all this extravagant funeral that people do is not really necessary. The person is dead, the soul, the spirit is gone. And I think as long as you're respectful about the whole funeral rites and everything, the person is not going to come and say, you didn't kill 10 cows for me, so therefore I'm going to start hunting you, okay? And I think all of us on this panel today, if you haven't taken out life insurance, go and do it too. Me, I haven't written my will, but I have a life insurance, but I haven't written my will, so I need to start looking into that. And again, funeral plan, I haven't done that either. So maybe it's something I need to talk about. Although I keep saying to my husband, when I die, this person, don't let them come to my funeral.
Yes, that funeral person, plan. I have that too.
Even if they come to you and say, oh, it's okay, don't let them, if they come and we come out and hunt you. So
I have that as my funeral plan. I know people that don't want my funeral.
You understand?
I have a list. I don't want them at all.
A list. Yeah. It's just a few. Do you understand? So it's just little things like that, and the songs you want them to play, because then it's really you. And as Jude said in the beginning, it's still, even though you're no longer there, but you're still taking control of what happens to you after you're gone.
It. That's the essence.
You understand? So I think that's it. But anyway, I'm going to round up now. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us, and thank you for being here till this time. And we'll see you again same time next week. Take care and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.